You are growing your business, you are taking more clients. Now it's time to automate the client onboarding process. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the whole process of how you can automate all the actions to onboard a new client in your company. Let's get started. So the first step to build any automation is to understand every step that needs to happen on that process. And to do that, for every automation that I build, I like to build a mind map, which is basically a flow chart putting every step of that process. So here I use a tool called Whimsical, which is very easy to use, and it serves that purpose very well. So you can build this kind of flow chart. So for every automation that I build for my clients, for example, I build one flow chart. So it's a lot easier for me to understand it, and also for my client to understand it, everything that will happen on that automation, on that process. Okay, so this is a real example of an automation for a client onboarding process that I built for one client. So you can really see everything that will happen on that process. So again, the first step, put every step on a paper. So you can start scratch that out on a paper, then you can move it to a tool like Whimsical or Miro, or even like a simpler way to do that on any other kind of note app that you have right now. Okay, so first step, put all the steps here, and here you can see that I have this kind of step, but also I have this kind of step on orange. So like on orange and on purple here. So what are the difference here, right? So every time that you see the orange module here, it's a trigger on the automation. And on the purple, it's all the actions that will happen on the automation, because on every automation you have one trigger, and you have all the actions that will happen with that trigger, right? So it's important for you to understand what's going to be the trigger of that process. And here on the client onboarding automation, I always recommend to use a CRM tool, for example, so you can have the trigger on the CRM, okay? So for example, on this example, the trigger for the first part, so like this specific client onboarding automation, we are dividing two parts, okay? Because that's how the client is doing things. So that's why we kind of work it down like that. But anyways, you can always do in just one process with all the actions on that first step. Okay, so here, once a new lead becomes a client, and you can do that on the CRM. So for example, when you move that client or that deal to a different stage on the CRM, that will trigger this action here. So that will trigger to create a contract and send that contract to the client, so the client can review it and can sign it. Okay, so that's the first step of the process. But really, again, the most important part here is for you to understand everything that you are doing to onboard a new client, right? So usually when you are onboarding a new client, you need to send a contract, you need to create and send an invoice, maybe a Google Drive folder, you can create a project on a project management board that you use, you're going to have to create the Slack channel, you're going to have to invite the client to join the channel, you're going to have to send a welcome email, so that's why it's really important for you to list all the steps that you are doing right now to onboard every new client, like everything that you are doing manually that you like to automate. So that's why it's really important to first you have that clear on your mind before you really start to automate everything. So again, the first part, it's offline, right? The first part is you understanding everything that you need to do to onboard a new client for you. In this case, for this client, we have a lot of different actions here. So we have the contract. So the first step, once a new lead becomes a client, we send a contract, okay? And that contract it's an action that will actually become a trigger on the second part of the automation. So once the contract is signed, and in that case we are using PandaDoc, which is a contract management tool. Once the contract is signed, then that's going to trigger all the other steps on the automation. Okay, so the client wants to make sure that first the contract will be signed, will be kind of accepted with all the pricing and the terms, and then all the other steps will happen on the onboarding automation. Okay. So here, when a contract is signed, then those are the actions that we are doing on the second part of the automation. So here we are creating a new customer and a new subscription on Stripe. And of course, we are sending the first invoice so the client can pay it. And also we are adding the client information to QuickBooks, which is the ERP, the tool that the client uses to manage all the finance side of the things. So the second step is on Slack. So the client is doing all the communication within Slack. So what we're doing here, we are creating a new Slack channel. We are inviting the client to join the channel. We are sending a welcome message with the next steps for the client to take action on. And also we are bookmarking all the key documents and links to that channel. Okay. Then we are creating a new project on Asana, which is the project management tool that the client is using. We are creating a new Google Drive folder, and then of course we are sending a welcome email with a calendar link so the client can book the kickoff call. Okay, and we are also sending an onboarding form. So all those actions are happening within a few seconds with the automation. Okay, so again, that's why it's really important for you to understand all the steps of the automation first, and then you go and build the actual automation on your automation tool. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the tool. So of course, as you already know, the tool that I usually use to build automations like that, it's make.com. But of course, you can try to build that, for example, on Zapier or Anything or any other automation tool, but the concept is the same. There are some things that you can't do on Zapier, for example. That's why like Make is a much more kind of advanced automation tools that gives you more different possibilities in terms of what we can build with automation. Okay, so as you can see it, we have two different two parts of the onboarding automation on this example, and I've built two different scenarios on Make. Okay, at first it may seem a little kind of complex, this kind of scenario here on Make, but it's very, very simple. Like this client is using Goha Level as the CRM. Okay, so as you can see it, we are watching new opportunities. When a new opportunity is updated, and the stage is this stage, so interested, send proposal. That's the stage that we are using as the trigger of the first part of the automation. Okay, so when a new deal is moved to the send proposal stage, then what we're doing is that we are sending a new contract through PandaDoc. So we are sending a new contract with the right values and the right services. I divided here because for this specific client, they have different services, and that will impact on the pricing structure, on the final pricing that the client will have to pay for. So we have, for example, the web build plus PPC plus SEO, or just web build plus SEO and web build plus PPC, for example. So this is, again, this is specifically for this case, for this client, but you can see here that they are the same. So they are creating a new document on PandaDoc. Okay, then you have here the details of that contract that we add. So we are adding the pricing, we are adding the different services here. So for example, the SEO service, we are in the PPC management, we are adding the website's development service. Okay, so we are kind of creating the different variables there on the document template that you have on the PandaDoc, and that's created. So that's the first part of the automation. Okay, so then so the contract is created and the contract is being sent to the client. So the client will review the document, and then of course we're gonna sign the document. When the contract is signed, that's gonna trigger all the other steps of the automation. So here you can see that I have the PandaDoc here as the trigger, and I'm only filtering the documents that are completed. So when a new document is completed, then I'm gonna check if that document is related to a client that we just created the contract on the first step, just to make sure that it's the same client and we have the right data. Then everything else will happen. So we are creating a new project on Asana. We are creating a new Google Drive folder, and then we are doing all the steps in Slack. So in Slack, we are creating a channel. We are creating a new private channel on Slack. We are inviting the right users to join the channel. So we're inviting the users from the agency, and also then we're gonna invite the client. And so to invite the client, we are using an API to do that, because they don't have that endpoint here on Make or any other place. So that's why you have to use APIs. So it's a little bit more tricky, but it's not hard to do it. So we are inviting the client. So the client's email is here. So the client will receive an invitation to join the Slack channel. And of course, we are bookmarking the Google Drive folder. We are bookmarking the Asana project also on the channel. And we are sending a welcome message to that client. Okay, so we are sending here with all the next steps that the client needs to do as a next step on starting to work with the agency. And then of course we are sending a welcome email again with more information about everything that the client needs to know in order to start working with the agency. So that's how it's structured. Again, this kind of process, it was taking this agency about 1 hour to do it. Now we are doing in under like 10 seconds, everything happens. So my client can take more clients every month. So like this process can handle like from 10 to 50 to 100 to 200 clients. So that's, again, this is just an example of how automation can help you scale, right? So with that process in place, you can onboard a lot of new clients to your business, to your agency, so you can grow your company. So also it's important to mention that by automating this kind of process, your team can focus on delivering great results to your clients instead of just kind of spending time creating folders or creating channels or building contracts. So you don't need to spend time on that. You can spend your time to go after more clients and also to deliver the best results possible to your clients. Hope this is helpful. Hopefully by now you know how to automate your entire client onboarding process so you'll be ready to scale your company even further. If you need help to automate not only the client onboarding process but any other process in your company, click on the link down below so I can help you build better systems, better operation, and help you scale your company.